Welcome to LeaseLink, your one-stop shop for all your property management needs. LeaseLink is a platform that allows landlords to simplify the process of managing their properties. It also allows tenants to be able to pay their rent online and communicate with their landlord in a way that allows them to keep track of all their communication and payment history. To begin, we have our homepage, which has a rather minimalist appeal. It is simple and elegant in how it displays the information to the user. It follows standard procedure in implementing a navigation bar, an About Us page, pricing information, frequently asked questions, and then the keystones, which is logging in and signing up. You can also sign in by clicking the button here. And then at the bottom, we have help, about us again, terms of use and our privacy policy, and our copyright. So to begin, we will sign in. But before we can sign in, we must create an account. But on the sign in page itself, we have LeaseLink and request our users to enter their information, in this case their email and password, which are used to log into their account, and then they can either save their credentials or reset their password. We have our login button, sign up, and then switching between tenant and landlord. Since we are employing only one login page, we are using a switch button to determine which type of account the user is trying to sign in as. So before we can log in, we must create our account. So we will go to sign up. We can see it has a very similar feel to the login page, but with additional questions so that we have enough information to create our accounts for the users. First name, last name, email address, password, and then confirming password. You can also choose whether to create an account as a landlord or a tenant, or both. You have to agree with the terms of conditions and then sign in. So assuming we already have an account, we can click the sign in button to be taken back to this page where we can fill in our credentials and sign in. So we will switch to tenant so that we will sign in for that. Then we click login and we are taken to the tenant sign in page, or tenant dashboard. So on the side we have our sidebar, which shows LeaseLink. We have our dashboard, which is this page. You are able to see the property that you are residing in, your finances. So this is where you can create your payment plan and see the history of your payments, and then chat, where you can communicate with your landlord. On the top, we show which page the user is currently on, as well as the logout button, their profile picture, and then any additional account settings under here. You are able to see an overview. In this case, we are showing the tenant's rent paid compared to the average in the area, as well as how much they paid and their percent. We also show their utility usage, and as well as their total rent and utilities paid in the last month, as well as a graph of how they have changed over time. So by clicking any of these, you are able to go to the different pages. So we will go to the property page next. You are able to see the address, property information, and add any notes. You are also able to see information about the landlord, such as their contact information and notes. Then we have the finance page. On the finances page, you are also able to see similar information as a dashboard, but in a more detailed way. For example, you can see the rent breakdown for the different utilities that you are paying for. You're able to see how much rent you've paid, how much your monthly rent is for this year, for this lease term, and then how much your increase in rent has been recently. Then you are able to see chat. You are able to communicate with your landlord, see their picture, profile, status, and so on. You can ask some questions. So in this case, how can you pay your rent online? So in this case, you can click finances, and then you are able to fill in your information there. And then in here, you can type any message and send it to your landlord. Again, you can see here the finance page, property, dashboard. And once the tenant has completed using the application, they are able to log out and are returned to the sign-in screen. So now let's take a look at how the application performs for the landlord. So if you want to sign in as a landlord, you click this button to switch, then you log in, and then you are taken to the landlord portal. So it looks fairly similar to the tenant portal in regards to the sidebar and top and so on. However, it has additional options. So instead of property, it is properties, since you may own multiple. You're able to see your tenants as well as additional information. So instead of saying how your rent has increased or decreased, as well as your utilities, you are able to see information about tenant retention, tenant utility usage, and tenant profit, as well as history of how your fees have increased or decreased. You are also able to see your information here on the side. So if we go to properties, you can see all of the properties that you have in card format. So you can see simple information such as their address and so on, and then view more detailed information by clicking View Property. You can also add additional properties by clicking this button. Let's take a look at tenants. It is very similar to properties in the card format. You're able to see basic information about them such as their name and address, and then see more detailed information by clicking the View Tenant button. You can also add additional tenants by clicking the Add Tenant button. For finances, also quite similar to how the tenant was laid out. So you're able to see additional information than the dashboard. So you're able to see total revenue, average profit, and growth in total profits, as well as different types of charts that can help you visualize your financial situation in different ways. Then you have the chat option. So different from the tenant who is only able to communicate with their landlord, a landlord is able to communicate with multiple tenants. So we have a sidebar here that allows choosing which conversation, and then whichever conversation you have selected is highlighted in gray. And then on the right, we are able to see the chat window itself, so quite similar to how the tenant chat is laid out. So you can view the other person's messages and reply by clicking here, as well as adding attachments. So with that, you are able to log out once you have completed your purpose, and then you can see the sign-in screen again. And that concludes the demonstration of LeaseLink, a renting and payment management platform for property owners and tenants.